One of the greatest life skills that I've ever learned that I don't see other people doing is to listen to people that have something that you want, a way of life that you want to live, even if that means right now you take a loss. And I know this because I have done it. I have lived this way. About 10 years ago, I incorporated this way of living. And even though in that moment I took a loss, the skill of learning to listen to somebody who had more wisdom than you, had a life that you wanted, was more important than learning the skill that would get me the win or the thing that I wanted. In fact, let me just tell you a story. I'm Steve Mayeda, and I started the Daily Awesome podcast as well as Austin Men's Development because I believe that men's excellence, the pursuit of that, is one of the most cherished experiences of your life. That being said, if you want to meet other men who are doing that right now, step one is you subscribe to this channel, whether you're listening to it on iTunes or Stitcher, or you are watching this, which I recommend because the videos are pretty cool, on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button, click the bell. But more importantly, if you want to interact with us and be a part of our group, see the description down below, download our free stuff. But most importantly, if this is something you want to invest in your life, Men's Development Excellence or AMD Plus, start there. So back in 2008, I was at a point in my life where it wasn't so great. There were a lot of good things going on, but some extreme changes happening in my life. One of those things was I was new in recovery. So if you guys are unfamiliar, I've had a chemical dependency problem for a long part of my life. Addiction is a huge part of the thing that I talk about, and being clean. But at the time, I was about 60 some odd days clean. And that can be a really trying time for you. To make this sound even more chaotic, I had just gotten back from a trip in Europe. I was getting sued. I was a new father. My second son was just born, and I was dating a couple women at one time. Now, at the time, I didn't think any of this was abnormal. I thought this was doing what I wanted. And to be honest, I was doing what I wanted. One of the great principles in life that we're gonna come back to here is when your thinking is a little bit off, you almost never see it. Now, this is gonna come into play with this overall principle, life skill, that we're about to talk about. So at the time I was in California, I was with one of the girls that I was dating, and I was in a lawsuit ready to go to this court hearing in Los Angeles. Well, in the meantime, trying to learn this new way of life of recovery that I had committed to. And to be honest, I forget the particulars of the situation, but I know it was about 2 a.m. in California, and I was not having a good day. I know there was a lot of stress from the lawsuit that I was in. There was a lot of stress from being a new father. There was a lot of stress of dating multiple women. My life was pretty freaking crazy. For some reason or another, which probably isn't even that important, I broke down. I was in Huntington Beach. I was on the boardwalk, and I didn't know what to do. What I do remember is I barely had any battery left in my phone, and I was gonna use it to make a call. So what did I do? I called one of the guys who had something that I want. I didn't know this guy well, but I had met him in a 12-step meeting the week prior. I had heard him share in the meeting. We talked about it afterwards, told him a little bit about my situation, and he said, call me anytime. Needless to say, I used that last bit of battery charge and I gave him a call. His name's Paul. I actually call him every clean day that I have just to thank him for this day. And it was about 4 in the morning his time, because California time is 2 hours earlier than Texas time where he was. His wife picked up the phone and I said, hey, I'm in recovery. I need to talk to Paul. She handed Paul the phone. He was totally out of it, couldn't even think of what was going on. And he said, hey, what's going on? And I said, hey man, I don't know what's going on. I don't think I'm in any danger of getting loaded or anything, but I'm confused. Life is falling apart. And I told him whatever my problem is. My problem, which I don't even remember to this day. I just know it felt like my world was caving in and I had a lot of realistic issues happening that looked like my world was caving in. Lawsuit, new father, massive amount of problems at home, and then dating multiple women. I know that's a big dream of all you guys, but really it can be a big, big pain in the ass. Now, if any of you guys know me, I'm not a religious person. I don't subscribe to any religion. I do a lot of meditation. I would consider myself spiritual, but at most, I'm agnostic, meaning that I believe that there's something more in this world than just my thought and free will and the things inside me, and really don't believe much in the God that we're all taught when it comes to the world's major religions. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot that you can learn about the world's major religions. I don't have anything against them. I just don't believe in them. I have not turned my will and my life over to Jesus Christ or the Buddha or Muhammad or any of those things. For much of my life, I denied all that stuff, and I found that I'm a lot happier with the idea that you can learn a lot from other people's cultures, beliefs, and the way people think, rather than trying to find the right and wrong in all of them.
Wisdom is nothing new.
So there I am on the boardwalk in Huntington Beach. It's about 2 a.m. It's 4 a.m. for Paul, and Paul says, here's what I want you to do, Steve. That's your name, right, Steve? He says, I want you to get on your knees, and I want you to pray, and I'm going to pray with you right now. And Paul gave me a prayer that was a Christian prayer, something that at the time I was very resistant towards, but at the same time I knew I did not want to live this way of life anymore, and I was willing to listen to anybody that I respected who had something that I wanted. And in that moment, praying to Jesus Christ was something that I was very much against. It was something that I was completely against and something that actually pissed me off. But thankfully, in the name of desperation and in the name of a lot of pain and confusion that I was in, I just did it. Damn! And now guess what happened after I did it? It didn't mean I was any weaker. It didn't mean I was any less of a man. It didn't mean that Jesus came down and graced me with his Holy Spirit, as many people have had done, but
oh, gross!
That didn't happen to me that night. What actually happened was my problems remained the same. I was still in a lawsuit. I still had a lot of drama at home. I still had a lot of problems in my life. But I learned one thing, that if I reached out and humbled myself to listen to somebody else, that I could get through the day. I could change my perspective and really turn into my best self. This is something that I've talked about before, and maybe you should watch this video on negative beliefs, because we go into this topic a little bit more. But that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is, for the first time in what became a succession of excellent life choices, I shut the fuck up and listened to somebody who was wiser than me, that I respected, and just did what he said. I shut the fuck up and listened to somebody who was wiser than me, that I respected, and just did what he said. Now, the reason why that is so important is because, remember at the beginning of the video when I said sometimes when we're a little bit off, we don't even see it? In fact, why don't you just go back to this point in the video, this point, or is it over there, whatever, go to the arrow on the screen. And then I'm going to get more money, I'm going to manage the women in my life, I'm going to be able to have all my home and family problems solved, I'm gonna win my lawsuit and all this other sort of stuff. This is what I want, because I can't see the actual problem. I'll be the first to tell you that me sitting there and praying and getting on my knees didn't do anything for me. It didn't do anything except for perhaps give me some camaraderie in the time of need, which is actually a lot. Excuse me. And it was the first repetition of exercising a muscle to humble what I thought in my head is the solution, throw that out and just submit and listen to somebody else. See, in today's society of men's development, men's excellence, we hear that as weakness. And let me tell you, for 10 years, I have only gotten strength from that. And let me just tell you the amount of that strength. At any point that I'm going through life, a confusing, emotional situation where I can't think straight, I reach out to my people. I reach out to people in my groups that I know hold me accountable to my best self, that know me very well, know my direction, know my potential. I reach out to people in my recovery circle. I reach out to people that I respect. And thankfully in my life, I have a ton of people in my life that I respect. I pick up the phone and I say, hey, Ray, Chance, Eli, John, Mitch, Steve-O, Rick, Doc, Gary, Jim, Alex, Phil, and I say, man, life is fucked. Here's the specifics. I know you've been there before. I know you live a life in the way that I respect. What do I do next? It's not even a question for me anymore. I just do it. I listen, I shut up, I do it. If it's something that needs more explanation, it probably doesn't. Hey, And thankfully, the dudes that I reach out to are pretty skilled. They've lived life, man. They've walked through fire. And so if I do have the need to start explaining something, they usually tell me to shut up and just do this next. And see, here's what I can tell you, is most men do not have this outlet. Most men think this is weak. Most men search for a group of guys that are wearing a facade based on a philosophy or some archetype that's really based on what you're afraid to not be. Meaning that the guys who are posturing being alpha the most are usually the biggest bitches and the weakest people I know. So So what I've done is I found a group of guys that live life, live it on life's terms, and make the best possible choices. There's no posturing, there's no BS, there's none of that stuff. And where you can find those guys is actually in the men's development excellence community. Check that description, people. And I know that just listening to this video probably isn't enough. So what I did is I included this video. It's one of the 800 that we have on this channel that actually breaks down how to go through life's decisions, life's choices in the hardest possible way. At the beginning of this video, I said that men's development was one of the most important things in your life and it needs to be cherished. Your development. That being said, it's freaking hard. It ain't easy. It's gonna challenge you in the biggest ways because it's supposed to, because being a man is an honor. And if it's an honor, that means it takes a lot of work. And so what's step one again? Subscribe. Hit that button right now. Get plugged into what we do. And step two is join our communities. You can do that by clicking the links in the description below, finding all the good stuff there. I'm out of here. Daily Awesome. We'll see you tomorrow. Uh-oh. And one more thing. The Daily Awesome podcast is all shot on minimal equipment. This one, only an iPhone and a tripod. We're here in San Antonio. But I do that because I encourage all people who are interested in sharing their message, how easy it is to carry your message, start a YouTube channel, start an iTunes channel, and spread the good word.